It is 2 in the morning, and you are wide awake, replaying the dumbest thing you ever said. You cringe so hard you pulled a blanket over your head. Here is the strange part. The people who were actually there forgot about it the same afternoon. There is a famous experiment at Cornell University that proves it, and it starts with a very ugly t-shirt. In the late 1990s, a psychologist named Thomas Gilovich ran a simple, slightly cruel experiment. He grabbed a college student and made him put on a t-shirt with a giant photo of Barry Manilow on the front. For a young student at the time, wearing that singer's face was deeply, painfully uncool. Then he sent the student into a room full of other students who were already busy filling out forms. The student had to walk in late, find a seat, and sit there with that face plastered across his chest. After a few minutes, the researchers pulled him back out into the hall. Gilovich asked him one question: "How many people in that room do you think noticed your shirt?" The student guessed that about half of them had clocked it. Then the researchers went around the room and asked everyone, "Did you notice that guy's t-shirt?" The real number was about 23%. He had guessed roughly double the truth. Gilovich figured this might be a one-off, so he ran the whole thing again with 79 more students. This time, some of the shirts were actually cool, with faces like Bob Marley and Martin Luther King. The wearers still bet that about half the room would recognize the face on their chest. The real number was under 10%. Cool shirt or cringe shirt, it did not matter. People wildly overestimated how much anyone cared. Gilovich gave this glitch a name: the spotlight effect. It is the constant, low background belief that there is a spotlight following you everywhere you go. You feel like you are standing on a lit stage, and everyone around you is the audience. Picture Stan walking into a party with an actual theater spotlight bolted to the ceiling, tracking his every step. In his head, every face turns toward him and the music cuts out. Then the lights snap off, and you see what is really happening. Nobody is looking at him. Every other stick figure is just staring down at their own phone. So why does your brain insist on doing this to you? The answer is almost too simple. You are the main character of your own life. You are stuck inside your own head every second of every day. You see every stain on your shirt, hear every word you fumble, feel every beat of sweat. Your own experience is loud, vivid, and cranked up to maximum volume. So when you try to picture how you look to other people, you start from that loud inner feeling. And you forget to subtract the fact that they cannot feel a single bit of it. On top of that, you quietly assume everyone else is as focused on you as you are. You take your own spotlight and you project a copy of it into every other person's head. Psychologists call this being anchored to your own point of view. You start from this feels enormous to me, and you barely adjust down for, but they cannot see inside my head. Stan stares at a tiny ketchup stain on his shirt as if it is a flashing neon sign only he can read. This wiring is not new, and it is loudest when we are young. Back in the 1960s, a psychologist named David Elkind described what he called the imaginary audience. He noticed that teenagers walk around feeling like an invisible crowd is constantly watching and rating them. It is why one wrong outfit at 15 can feel like the end of the world. Picture a teenage Stan, certain. A packed stadium is reviewing his every step down the school hallway. For most people, that feeling fades as they get older and realize the stands were always empty. But the basic glitch never fully leaves. It just gets a little quieter with age. Here's the part that should genuinely make you feel better. Everyone else is running the exact same program about themselves. The students in that Cornell room barely noticed the ugly shirt because they were busy worrying about their own hair and their own answers. Picture a coffee shop where Stan has spilled coffee down his front and wants to evaporate. He is certain the whole room is silently judging the stain, but pan across the tables, and every other stick figure is panicking about something of their own. One just tripped on the step, one forgot a name, one is sure his laugh came out weird. Every single person is the anxious star of their own private movie, and in everyone else's movie, you are a blurry extra walking through the background. The spotlight you feel is real, but it only ever shines on one person, and they are all aiming it at themselves. Once you know the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere in your own day. You walk into class a few minutes late and feel the heat of 40 pairs of eyes. In reality, a couple of people glance up and instantly go back to their own thoughts. You are at the gym, convinced everyone is watching your form and judging the weight you picked. But look around, every other person is staring into the mirror at themselves, doing the same anxious math. You trip on a flat sidewalk and feel like the whole street saw it in slow motion. The strangers around you forgot before they reached the corner, if they noticed at all. You walk past a group of strangers mid-laugh and feel certain the joke is about you. It almost never is. Most of them do not even know your name. You agonize for a full minute over ordering the wrong thing at a restaurant. The waiter forgets your face the second he turns toward the kitchen. You get a haircut you hate and brace yourself for everyone to comment on it. Most people do not notice, and the few who do have forgotten by lunch. You stand frozen at a wedding, sure that one bad dance move will define you forever. Everyone on that floor is too busy worrying about their own arms to film yours. You send a text and then read it back 20 times. Sure, the other person is dissecting your every word. They glanced at it, typed haha yeah, and moved on with their life. You replay a meeting where you stumbled over one sentence and call yourself an idiot for a week. Nobody else in that meeting kept a single frame of it. There is a second reason the people who saw your worst moment forgot it so fast. Their brains had no reason to save the file. To them, your stumble was a tiny, meaningless blip inside a day stuffed with their own problems. Try a quick test right now. Remember something embarrassing a friend did last week. A real slip or a dumb thing they said. Most people draw a complete blank. If you cannot remember theirs, it is a very safe bet they cannot remember yours. The moment you have rehearsed 200 times got quietly deleted from their memory before they reached the parking lot. You are the only person still keeping that tape. The same trap shows up in groups, not just one-on-one. Jilovich and his team put people into group discussions and then asked how much they stood out. Everyone was sure their best comment and their worst comment had landed hard on the rest of the group. When the others were asked, those moments had barely registered. Picture Stan in a meeting replaying one clumsy sentence on a giant screen behind his head. To everyone else in the room, that screen is blank. They were all too busy rehearsing their own clumsy sentence to grade yours. The researchers found the same thing with our ups and downs over time. We assume people track our good days and bad days like they are following a sports highlight reel. Whether it was looks, sports, or a video game score, people thought their swings were far more visible than they were. Your best haircut and your worst breakout look like front page news to you and like nothing to everyone else. The spotlight effect has a close cousin that makes the whole thing even scarier. It is called the illusion of transparency. This is the feeling that your insides are showing on the outside. When you are nervous, your heart is slamming, your hands feel shaky, your thoughts are sprinting. It feels like all of that must be printed across your face in huge letters. Picture Stan giving a speech. Certain the words "I am panicking" are glowing on his forehead, but to the audience, he just looks like a guy giving a speech. The storm is deafening on the inside and almost invisible on the outside. Gilovich teamed up with another psychologist named Kenneth Savitsky to test exactly this. They had students give a speech in front of a crowd, which is most people's idea of a nightmare. The speakers were sure their nerves were obvious to everyone watching, but when the observers were asked, they could barely tell how nervous the speakers really were. Then the researchers tried something clever with a second group. Right before the speech, they explained this exact bias to the speakers. They simply told them that their nerves are far less visible than they feel. That one piece of information changed the outcome. The students who were told felt calmer, and a panel of judges actually rated their speeches as better. Just knowing that nobody could see the storm inside them made the storm smaller. This is also where the spotlight effect stops being a quirk and starts being a trap. For people with social anxiety, the imaginary spotlight is blinding and it never switches off. They feel watched, so they get more self-conscious, so they watch themselves even harder. Picture Stan at a party, so busy monitoring his own face that he misses every word being said to him. The fear of being judged actually pulls you out of the conversation that would have proven the fear wrong. The spotlight does not just feel bad, it makes you worse at the very thing you are anxious about. Turning the light down is not only about comfort, it is how you actually show up. Researchers found one mental move that turns the spotlight down fast. Instead of replaying the moment from inside your own eyes, watch it from across the room, like a camera on the wall. From the outside, your big embarrassing moment shrinks into a tiny, forgettable thing a person did. Picture Stan floating up to the ceiling and looking down at himself, suddenly seeing how small the whole scene is. Seeing yourself as just another person in the room takes a lot of the heat out of it. You are not the star being judged, you are one more face in a crowd of people thinking about themselves. So, what do you actually do with all of this? The first move is a simple reality check in the moment. When you feel the spotlight start to burn, ask yourself, will anyone here remember this in a week? Almost every time, the honest answer is no. The second move is to flip the camera around. Instead of guessing how you look from the outside, remember that everyone around you is staring at their own feet too. You are not standing in front of a calm, attentive jury. You are surrounded by people just as self-conscious as you are. The third move is the most useful, and it costs you absolutely nothing. Treat the spotlight effect as permission to take more social risks. Raise your hand and ask the question you think sounds stupid. Walk over and start the conversation you have been rehearsing in your head for 10 minutes. Ask the person out, wear the shirt, post the thing, say the awkward hello. Because the audience you are so terrified of barely exists. Think of the compliment you swallowed because you were sure it would land weird. The other person would have carried that one line around for the rest of the week. The worst case you keep picturing gets forgotten by everyone else, almost the instant it happens. And if it goes badly, you are the only one who will still be thinking about it tomorrow. Every time you act anyway, you collect a little more proof that the spotlight was bluffing. Do that enough times, and the imaginary audience slowly loses its grip on you. None of this means you stop caring about other people. It means you stop paying rent on an audience that was never watching. That cringe at 2 in the morning is real. but it is a tax on a crime nobody saw. The only person who remembers your worst moment is the one person guaranteed to forgive you. So picture Stan one last time walking into the room. The spotlight clicks on above his head, the way it always does, but this time he reaches up, finds the switch, and turns it off himself. And the room never even notices, because the room was never watching. If this quieted the noise in your head even a little, hit subscribe. The algorithm will quietly notice, even when nobody else does. We will be back next week to ruin another thing you were anxious about with a perfectly good explanation.